here. Come on. Feel it? Looks like it. Alright. Hello again, my friends, and welcome back to day 6 of HalloweenX right here on Animation Station. As you guys may recall, back in day 2 of this marathon, we took a look at the top 10 most disturbing episodes of cartoons. But what if we broadened that to more than just one episode, instead, an entire show? Well, glad you asked, because that's when today's feature presentation comes into play. Let's take a look at entire cartoons that, for one reason or another, send shivers down the spines of many kids and adults. We'll be revisiting a few cartoons as well as discussing some new ones. So without further ado, let's dive right in to the top 10 scariest cartoons. Number 10 is Courage the Cowardly Dog. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or little pink dog in the room, whatever you want to call it. Courage features a very monster of the week feel to it, but they managed to make each of those monsters very distinct and memorable. The show was also pretty much made for Halloween with constant appearances, I'm a little bit out of breath. Constant appearances of supernatural terrors at least once per episode. That being said, it is still a pretty good cartoon that I do recommend, but just be prepared for the scares found in every episode. Number 9 is Spawn the Animated Series by HBO. Time to take our first look at a cartoon aimed directly at the adults, based on one of the best comics of all time, Todd McFarlane's Spawn. The best way that I can describe this cartoon is that it's an R-rated version of Batman the Animated Series, filled with constant swearing, disturbing imagery, and a lot of blood and gore. However, this is all directly from the comics, so it makes sense why it's in there, and just like Batman the Animated Series, the writing is incredibly sharp, and the cartoon itself is excellent for fans of the comic like myself. But this show is pretty dang scary, and at times, and HBO really let them go all out for 3 excellent seasons. Another cartoon I recommend, but another one that's pretty scary. And I know that I'm not supposed to talk about adult stuff on this channel, but since we're talking scary cartoons, I had to put it in there somewhere. Number 8 is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I have been so excited to finally talk about this awesome cartoon that I watched almost as often as Danny Phantom, and was the only non-too-normie show that made me temporarily diverge away from Nickelodeon. Like Danny Phantom, it has incredibly sharp writing, memorable characters, stellar animation, incredibly funny and memorable moments, and both entertained while pushing the boundaries of what it was allowed to show. However, this show has a slightly darker edge to it than Danny Phantom, with Grimm regularly traveling to the underworld to face monsters, with Billy and Mandy, as well as supernatural occurrences on Earth too, all the time. It's a pretty scary show, but also one of CN's best and one of my personal favorites. And yeah, that's all I can really say about it. Number 7 is Tales from the Crypt Keeper. This one's pretty self-explanatory, so I'll just keep this one brief. It's the animated spin-off of Tales from the Crypt, so you already know what to expect. The only difference is that it's animated. Aside from that, it's pretty much the exact same show. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Number 6 is Beetlejuice. This one's also pretty self-explanatory. It's the animated spin-off of the movie of the same name. So of course it's going to be scary. However, in my opinion, the movie's better. Number 5 is Castlevania. Since we talked about Spawn, let's go ahead and talk about one last adult cartoon, Netflix Castlevania. Being a huge fan of the games myself, I'm so glad that this show is as fantastic as it is, swearing and gore included. Yes, it adapts the worst game of the original trilogy, Simon's Quest, but it's made up for with its fantastic voice acting, excellent animation, and the fact that it does not hold back. It's the best show on Netflix right now, and I highly recommend to the adult fans of the games. But I'm going to leave it here just in case I have to talk about it again another time on the other channel. So let's leave it at that. Number 4 is the real Ghostbusters. I'm not personally a fan of the Ghostbusters, but this show can be pretty scary at times, usually with its monster designs. But Lorenzo Music, the voice of Garfield, is pretty great as Peter Venkman, and the show itself isn't really that bad. It's not great, and it is definitely scary at times, but if you're a Ghostbusters fan, I do recommend it. Number 3 is Real Monsters. This show is one of the scariest shows I saw as a kid. Every time I saw a rerun, I was both entertained and horrified. Made by the same team that made Rugrats Klasky Supo, or however you pronounce that. The show literally revolves around monsters going around scaring kids. Need I say more? Number 2. Okay. Number 2, this was going to surprise a lot of you. It's TMNT 2012. I know this may sound like a very stupid choice, but hear me out. The Krang's objective in this show is to literally take over Earth and mutate everyone into Krang human hybrid monsters. And before they even showed up, people were constantly getting mutated and terrifying monsters based on a certain animal for the turtles to fight, like spider bites, for example. Also, they eventually have to go into hiding after Leonardo was almost killed by Shredder, and while they were in hiding, Donnie gets mutated by an evil car into one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Also, may I mention April's mom, who turns out to be another monster, and the scariest monster the show ever came up with? This show is a lot scarier than people realize, and if you really take a good look at the whole show, especially its insane final season, Tales of the TMNT, it's both one of the best and scariest cartoons that I've ever seen. I know that it may sound like a stupid choice to some, but it's scarier than you think. Trust me. And before I get to number 1, let's check the live chat. Yeah, I don't have it yet either. I don't think I was able to get a code, sorry. So that might have my gameplay and streams of that might have to come later, because right now I'm kind of focused on getting Halloween decorations and stuff. Anyway, number 1, this one's not going to be a surprise to anyone. It's Invader Zim. I know that this is beyond predictable, but is there really any scarier cartoon in the history of existence? From harvesting people's organs and replacing them with household items, to constantly torturing people to near death, if not sometimes literal death, to all the horrific imagery, like people's insides getting eaten and their eyes getting ripped out. Like, Jesus, this show is... Invader Zim is deliciously dark, and it embraces this darkness to create something that's truly unique and memorable. While it's overrated in my opinion, I mean, it's nowhere near Nickelodeon's best cartoon, it's far from bad, and it is extremely terrifying. Invader Zim, the hands down scariest cartoon of all time. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for checking out these scary cartoons with me today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are enjoying this entire marathon thus far. I know the quality is not nearly as high as my past videos, but that's because I'm working under a time crunch and a restraint and, all kinds of stuff. So I hope you guys understand. I hope you guys keep enjoying. So until day 7, until tomorrow, have a spooky day and take care.